Oh man, oh woman, oh human. It's your boy Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, baby. Here's the deal. Every single Friday morning, I make the trek up from the kitchen. I get a big old jug of water and I make the trek all the way up to the attic, just below the roof in my attic. That's where my studio is. That's where the show happens. That's where the nonprofit magic happens, at the top of the house. Why? Well, because 3 years ago, I got locked away in an attic and I came up with this idea years before that about philanthropy and focus, but it all came to fruition here, literally here on talkradio.nyc, but also here in my attic. And every week I do a couple of things. I meet with a leader of a nonprofit organization. I help them tell their story, and as I like to say, amplify their message. And shout out to my friend Valerie Heffron. She loves that word amplify. She doesn't love that word amplify. In fact, on our other show, Professionals and Animal Lovers show, I give her a hard time. And I use that word because I dig that word amplify, because it just means make things louder and bigger. And if you're Tommy D, well, if you've seen Tommy D, then you know that's sort of how I get, is louder and bigger and more excitable. There was a Warren Zevon song, Excitable Boy. And sometimes I feel like that excitable boy, even though I'm a 45-year-old boy. I feel like that at times. I feel like there's so much in the world that gets me going, and so many things I want to see. Shout out to my ADDers, my ADHDers, my creatives out there. I just have to say that. I wasn't planning on saying that today. But look, man, you know, it's something about that dopamine fix that we look for, that I'm looking for, man, that I go, I want to try that. I want to see what that's all about. I want to play with that thing. Doesn't always mean you finish a lot of projects, but it means you get to have a good ride while you're trying stuff out. So look, that's sort of what philanthropy and focus is, man. Every week it's Friday again. And right after that, like in like 6.5 days, it becomes Friday like again, and it just keeps happening. So like sort of like Groundhog's Day in a good way though, because every week I come up here on a Friday morning and there's another leader of a nonprofit. We're in the 131, 132 mark of how many programs I've done, of an idea that I had. And I don't necessarily tell you that because you should be so fired up for me, although I do appreciate it if you are. But I tell you that because if you have an idea to go do the thing, do yourself a favor. Just go do the thing. It may not work. It probably won't work exactly. I know. Let me stop it. It isn't going to work exactly how you thought it was going to work. I promise you that. It might work better. You might learn how to do things differently. Go freaking try something, man. I tell you all the time on this show, I got 50 years left. I've been saying that for 3. So I guess at the time I actually had 53 years left. So I have this deal with the universe where I've worked it out. Maybe I'll be immortal, but I don't know about if that would be so much fun, because too much Tommy D might be too much for the world. Anyway, let's get into the show. Philanthropy and Focus. That's the name of the program. As I told you, I'm the nonprofit sector connector. I would not be a very good nonprofit sector connector if it wasn't for my network. So if it wasn't for Heather Edwards introducing me to today's guest, Linda Harelick, if it wasn't for the team at Spirit of Huntington putting me on to the fact that, shout out to Spirit of Huntington, shout out to Suzanne and Michael and James and everybody over there at Spirit, and Diane, and just, you know, the team that does our artwork for Vanguard Benefits. As I said earlier this year, we started, I didn't tell you this yet today, but I've told you in the past, earlier this year, I decided that one episode of the show would work in tandem with our agency, Vanguard Benefits. Around an awareness month, last week was Global Breastfeeding Awareness Week. Didn't even know that was a thing 3 weeks ago, right? Then I found out it was a thing, and I was like, I don't really know if that's like, how would I do that on the show? I don't know a nonprofit that's in that space. And little did I know, I did know a nonprofit that's in the space. Shout out to Heather Edwards. She brought on 2 pediatricians that focus in breastfeeding and lactation medicine here on the program last week. And then after the show, well, prior to the show, I've been introduced to my guest, Linda. By the way, Linda, good morning, Linda Harelick. How are you?
Good morning. I am doing great on this Friday.
All right. We'll get, I hope you're enjoying watching the show. You're going to be part of the show in a second.
Absolutely.
So I had been introduced by Heather Edwards to Linda through email earlier last week. And then I finished the show and I was like, I should call Linda right now. I was like, Linda, what do you think about coming on the show next week, like as a follow-up piece to what we just did? And she goes, I'm in, Tommy D. And that's how it all works. And that's why we're here. So Linda is the executive director of an organization called Milk Bank of New York. The Milk Bank of New York, correct? That's how we say it?
It's the New York Milk Bank.
The New York Milk Bank. So what does that actually mean? I don't know. We're going to find out. That's why we do the show. I know this, Linda. I have been telling people all week since last Friday morning, when we spoke about 5 after 11, that I'm going on a tour of the facility up in Valhalla. Like, to the point of people are figuring out what I should wear during the tour. And like, this is what this phenomenon, if you will, is about, the nonprofit sector connector, about philanthropy and focus, and about 60 days of service, which, gang, there's only 2 days left. I did day number 58 this week. There's only 2 days left. Actually, it was yesterday morning. Let me shout it out. The team at TD Bank invited me to Operation Splash, which is down in Freeport, Long Island. And we went out, we took a boat, and we were cleaning out garbage off of the shore in the bay, in one of the bays down in Freeport. It's really tragic. Plastics, garbage, beer bottles, soda cans, all types of trash that people just leave around, which ends up in our waterways, which ends up tragically in our animals, as you probably are aware. Check out Operation Splash. Thanks to TD Bank. Thanks specifically to Scott Horowitz for the invitation. And that's day number 58. Only 2 days. Linda, 60 days of service is this mission I'm on. When I run out of days, which is going to happen in 2 days, you want to know what happens after that?
I'm going to guess you repeat the whole thing. You start from day one.
Wow, am I that? Is it really? Is that it? We start from day one and we name it hashtag 70 days of service. So that's how it works. So sorry, spoiler alert, we just told you guys out of this, but that's all it is. And then I'll spend the next year and a half or 2 years doing 70 days of service. And then I probably don't need to tell you guys what happens after that, but we'll talk about that in a couple of years. So Linda, let's dive into this. I mean, your background, I want to read a little bit of your background as we talked about last week, what we're going to do, and we spoke again earlier this week. We're going to talk about you as a leader, your background, certainly the organization, the programs of the organization, the impact of the organization. I don't think we'll go to my calendar during the show live and try and pick what date I'm coming up for a tour. I think we should do that after the show. And then really just the impact and what do you need? How can we help? It's not a legacy type organization. It's a pretty new organization, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
About 6 years old. Yeah.
Only 6 years old. So here's what I'm going to read. Linda's interest in social impact stems from her early work as a registered dietitian, where she saw firsthand how environmental, cultural, and societal factors influence one's ability to reach their full potential. I don't know, social determinants of health, maybe, huh?
Exactly.
Okay. Right. With an ambition to transition in management, she pursued her MBA from Columbia Business School, and this led to a career at Kraft Foods, overseeing strategic planning and marketing from Maxwell House. Oh, I remember Maxwell House, where they pop the top with those. We used to keep change in those cans. I don't even know if they still have those cans. I'm too lazy to make my own coffee at this point in my life. Later on, she returned to promoting health and earned her doctorate in public health from New York Medical College, and became the director of operations and communications at Child Obesity 180 at Tufts University. That's down in Philly.
That's in Boston.
Oh, Tufts is up in Boston.
Yep.
And here she combined her management expertise with public health knowledge to accelerate and transform the startup nonprofit to leading an organization in childhood obesity prevention. It goes on more and more, but I really want you to be able to tell the story. It's funny. I want to say something. I met a young man last week who's got 2 master's degrees and is really trying to crack into public health work. And one of his master's degrees in public health. And he's in jobs right now that he's not happy doing. And I said, you can't do that anymore. And I don't know. I mean, I just met him. I was at an event. I met his aunt randomly. I don't think there's anything random. I met his aunt. She said, you need to meet my nephew. She brings him over. And we're chatting. And on Saturday, last week, we had like an hour conversation because I was in the car. But I said to him, look, man, let me help you. Like, let me make connections for you. So Linda, I might ask you later on, like, can I introduce this guy, right? Like this is
absolutely. I love talking to young people about their careers, public health, providing some mentorship. Yes.
I will use his first name because it's a very common first name. Michael, I will be making an introduction for you. All right, Linda, thank you for that, because that makes me a better,
of course,
right away. So let's talk about your journey. I want to know how you got to this work. Well, we just talked about your degrees and your designations. I mean, what is your journey? What was the trip about?
Well, I would say it's basically always sort of leveraging the skills and the talents I kind of developed over time. So when I started off as a registered dietitian, I was working up in Boston, Mass General Hospital, Brigham and Women's Hospital, and I really did enjoy the work. I enjoyed the clinical work. However, there was sort of at that time, there was no career path. I'm very goal oriented, so I kind of needed like a ladder to climb. So that's why I decided, well, perhaps I would be better suited to management. And that's why I went and got my business degree from Columbia Business School. And I had all full intention of going back into healthcare in the area of management. However, I fell in love with marketing when I was at business school. And, it was just so similar in my mind to whether you're trying to persuade or motivate someone to stay on a particular diet or a course of exercise, or, buying your brand, or, enjoying, what you have to offer from the commercial side of things. It was very similar, understanding someone's insight, their motivation, what they're trying to achieve, what their goals are. And so I decided to just go into corporate America and get some classical, it's called consumer packaged goods marketing experience, very classical marketing training. And then I would go back into healthcare. Well, I really enjoyed my time at Kraft, worked with super smart people, always had interesting projects, always a challenge. And so 17 years later, decided now is the time. So I was at Kraft for 17 years. And as I said, really enjoyed my time, but wanted to work in an area of what I call like greater social consequence. I always found, purpose in my work, but really wanted to, do something where I could feel that I was sort of giving back more directly. And so decided the best way to do that was to go and get my doctorate in public health, because public health is really broad. It's everything from, vaccines to wearing a seatbelt to chronic illnesses. So it's so broad that I figured I would find my way in that if I got this academic training. And I really enjoyed, and I didn't plan this. It wasn't like, 5 years before that I had planned it. It was just something that I started to pursue and decided to dive into. And then from there, I always say to keep your network alive and well fed. And through a connection at Kraft, I met the founders of Child Obesity 180 at Tufts University. And it was sort of like a perfect combination because it was a multi-sector organization. And I was like a multi-sector person. I had worked in nonprofits, corporate America. I had worked on a government grant at one point. I'd worked at a university when I got my degree. I was also working there at New York Medical College. So I sort of had this, broad kind of multi-sector experience as well. And so that's sort of how I really started my sort of public health and nonprofit work, was back in, I say, 2012. And then I, worked in the area of childhood obesity for a while. And then again, someone called me, and a executive recruiter, and said, we have this job at the New York Milk Bank. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is the exact combination. It's public health, it's food production, whether you're producing coffee or you're producing pasteurized, donor human milk, it's the same process, I will say. So I thought this really combines, all my skills, all my talents, all my knowledge, and I wanted the challenge, so I accepted.
What year did you join the organization?
So I joined just in the beginning of 2022. So I've been here about 18 months.
18 months. Wow, what a great culmination. They say like hindsight is 2020, right? Like you now looking back at it, you go, oh, well, that made a lot of sense that I would sit there and do that thing and pick up this knowledge. And, I wrote something from the very first moment you started speaking about leveraging your skills. So now I think it's probably you're in this unique position to look back and go, I'm in this role because of all these skills I acquired. Like, there's like some, I don't know much about like gaming or like cards, like Pokemon cards and things like that, but my kids sometimes collect them, and some of the people listening might be into this type of stuff. And I think about like skill cards, and like you've collected these skill cards, and I'm at this point at 45 years old thinking like, well, what are my skill cards? What are the battle cards that I have that I can put into play, right? And I think that's what we need to do as we grow in our careers, and career is such a funny word to use, because like, for many years, I started my career at ADP in payroll sales when I was 24 years old. That was a long time ago. And I always refer to myself for a long time as I'm a sales guy. I'm a salesman. I'm a sales guy. And, somebody's checking in, talking about creativity on Twitch. And I just think it's like, it's all about us gathering these things and not putting ourselves in one box. Like that was very limiting for me, honestly, to just be like, I'm a salesman. Look at myself as like a creative. Yeah, maybe a bit of a showman, but not like this. But I think we need to realize there's so much we gain and garner and the knowledge. And the other piece that stood out for me, which is so on brand for the nonprofit sector, Connector, as you were talking about some of the moves you made, you said you wanted to keep your network well fed. You wanted to nurture those relationships. God, critically important, not to mention how I already leveraged an introduction in the first 2 minutes of the show. Like, I'm like, I got to hook up with this guy because that's going to help. It's going to help him, which helps me, which I feel better. Maybe it helps wherever you help him land if such a thing happens. And that's the world. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. So really, really important way to start the show off like that. We are going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to dive more deeply into this conversation about you, your background, and obviously the organization. And then for our friends who are watching this video somewhere, there's a freezer behind you, and we'll find out what's in the freezer when we come back. That's a teaser on the freezer. Good morning, Tommy D. We're right back.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
What really drives success in business? Introducing Intangify, the show that explores the intangible assets that create value and growth. I'm Matthew Asbell, your host and an attorney focused on innovation. Join me Fridays at noon Eastern to discover how innovation, culture, and other intangibles shape thriving companies from startups to established businesses. We'll share strategies to unleash your business's true potential. Tune in live on talkradio.nyc Fridays at noon Eastern and Intangify your business today.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop having the theme song played when we come back so I could sing it to you. And then you wouldn't have to hear Brendan Levy sing it, although I do love my Uncle Brendan and that song. Although I was listening to one of my favorite groups, a group called Revolution this morning, and one of the tunes I like to listen to called Good Vibes, bringing only good vibes. And I'm thinking I need a version of the song in that, like that reggae style. So Brendan, if you're listening, I'll text you later. If you're not, we might need to redo the song as a, like we might need to cover your own song, but in a different style. And shout out to Mick Collins, who's putting funny quotes. Tommy DeMeser in the freezer teaser. He's a people pleaser. Now, not a guy, Mick Collins, he's a big time Eminem fan. I love Eminem as well, although I grew up listening to A Tribe Called Quest and Cypress Hill and some of the others, but I'm certainly an Eminem. Easy for you to say, kid, right? I also am an Eminem fan. But Mick, love you. Appreciate you always posting things, and also appreciate the work you do at Pay It Forward Processing. So Linda, Mick is a good buddy of mine. We know each other through network connecting. We hung out down in DC last year on another nonprofit event, and his company gives back, Pay It Forward Processing. They give back their net proceeds to nonprofit organizations. They're a merchant processing company. So I like to shout him out and like to get him connected and network throughout my world. So let's dive back into the topic at hand, which is milk, is it not? Got milk?
It is human milk. Yeah.
It is human milk. All right. In honor of what was last week was Global Breastfeeding Awareness Week, right? I've been putting it out there on social media as month. So we're giving it the whole month. Let's talk about the foundation of the milk bank. It was 5 women only in 2016, as we say, not too long ago, which again, it's funny. It's funny to be a human being because I'm thinking like, oh, I didn't even know this was a thing, right? Like this is exactly what happened to me while I was doing some work this morning. I'm going, so I'm reading the notes. It says, most people have never heard of the human milk bank. This is an opportunity to learn about the source of nutrition and on and on and on, right? There's some information you sent over. I go, yeah, I never heard of it. And then I'm looking on the website. I go, oh, they only found this in 2016. I go, what do you mean? How come it took so long? Right. And I go, but I never heard of it a minute ago. And then I was already on to like, how come it didn't exist already? I think that's funny. And some people are laughing. And some people are like, shut up and let Linda talk, Tommy. Okay, fine. We'll do that. So Linda, let's talk about the organization. Let's talk about the founding of the organization. Because as the executive leader of the organization, I know you know the story. So let's dive into some of that.
Okay, great. So yes, back in, it was probably back in 2014 where 5 women who, knew each other, some closely, some briefly, got together. Pediatricians were involved, neonatologists, lactation consultants, and said, you know what, milk banking has been around for decades. However, there is no milk bank in New York State. And so milk was coming from other milk banks and, probably not really being able to supply the entirety of New York State. And so we really felt that there should be a milk bank right in New York State. So New York State milk for New York State babies. And so it took about 2 years, had to raise a lot of funds, had to really understand all the regulatory environment. We are licensed by the Department of Health. We are regulated by the FDA. We are accredited by a national organization called the Human Milk Banking Association of North America, or HABANA. So lots of things have to be put in place to be able to open a milk bank, become accredited, and become licensed. And so in 2016, they opened up in a very small space, had one small pasteurizer, and was up and running. And then the demand became so strong in 2018, we moved to this facility here, where we now have 20 freezers plus a walk-in freezer. We have 5 refrigerators. We have 3 pasteurizers. It's really quite an amazing facility that raw milk from very generous moms, milk donors come in the front door, and it is processed, bottled, pasteurized, tested for safety, and then dispensed to mainly hospitals and families in need. So that's sort of like in a nutshell what took a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of dedication from these 5 women.
Yeah, and I think that's something we need to be mindful of. And I went to the website, and I'll go there again. So I might do a bad job on some of these names, but Susan Harelick.
Harelick. Yes.
Oriana Valdez, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Shelter.
Yeah.
Roseanne Motti.
Yes.
And Julie Boucher
Horowitz.
Horowitz.
Yes.
So I see the ladies. So go to the website, gang, nymilkbank.org, and you'll see these 5 founders. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about, what it was for them that they said this actually needs to be a thing. Like when you speak to them and you connect with them, what for them, I mean, I have a bunch of notes about, statistics and what the organization has, the amounts of milk that have changed hands and gotten into the babies that need the milk to thrive. But what do you think it was for them from your connection to the?
Well, I think, certainly demand for donor milk has been increasing. So I think they saw this need that we needed to have a milk bank closer to home in New York State to be able to meet that demand. And, the neonatologist involved, Boriana, she works with these little tiny babies that are born 2-3 pounds, that really human milk is the best form. And if mom's own milk is unavailable or not sufficient, then donor human milk that's been pasteurized, that is the best thing for these babies. And really not only to help them survive, but also to, what we say, to thrive. And so there was a real, she saw the real need, and the pediatricians, when these babies sometimes leave the hospital, they still require donor milk. And so they really saw this need from a medical point of view, and just to be able to help, babies in need. And we sort of estimate, we don't know exactly, but we estimate that we probably save about 100 babies' lives a year by being able to provide this donated milk to the hospitals, human milk.
Yeah, let's pause there for a second, gang. Okay, this is not a nice to have. Okay, what we're talking about is a mom has a baby. and maybe that baby was born premature or some other challenges. Or certainly if you're talking about a tiny little 1 or 2 pound baby, I mean, that's a very scary, very challenging scenario for a family. And 100 babies' lives have been saved by this because of this organization. What do I tell you about nonprofits? They change the freaking world. Now we talk to a nonprofit that is saving lives. Okay. It's not the only nonprofit saving lives, but it is certainly an important organization that wasn't there and is now there. So again, I was down at Disney World. Let's see. I don't want to tell you how old my sister is. She might get upset, but she was a baby. So it was a long time ago. And it was like over 30 years ago. And there was a character that they just came up with, Figment. And he was like, I don't even think he's a real character anymore. Well, it wasn't real either. He was only a figment of someone's imagination. There's the story. A figment of your imagination, something you think of that you might say, I don't know, you might say, hey, I really like nonprofits. I want to do a show every Friday morning at 10 o'clock and talk to nonprofit leaders. You might, and then you'd have to battle against me because I already do that. But the idea is you might do that, or you might say, I want to found a nonprofit organization, or you might say, I want to build something that will change people's lives and make them safer, healthier, have more fun, whatever. Do it. Just try it. This show was never really supposed to be about me inspiring people to just go out and do stuff, but it sort of turns into that. Because if you don't do it, and these 5 women didn't do it, well, maybe those 100 babies' lives would not have been saved. What's that impact? That's what we talk about. We talk a lot about impact. I'm on a rant. Let me get off my soapbox. Let me put my soapbox back in the closet. Okay.
Yeah, I'll also say one other thing. The lactation experts, Julie and Roseanne in particular, who founded the organization, they also saw that it's very difficult when a baby is born premature. The mom's mammary glands are also premature.
Sure.
So it doesn't always mean that they can produce anything or enough for that baby. So
it's all biology, right, Linda? Yep. The mom hasn't gotten to that stage yet.
Exactly.
Right, makes sense. Yeah,
exactly. So that's why, that's why this is so critical.
I want to talk now about the day in the life of what it's like at the milk bank. Although before we do that, we're actually going to go to a quick break. So before we go to a break, I want to ask you, Linda, what's in the freezer?
Do you want to see it right now or when we come back?
No, let's go now. Let's look at it now. You go get what's in the freezer, come back, put your headphones back on. So I will play you guys through this. So my friend Linda just took her headphones out and she's just opened the freezer and she's coming back and she has I saw the bag. I think it's a pink plastic bag. Now she's back.
Okay, so this bag. Okay, so we like a lot of color coding at the milk bank to keep things straight. So this bag actually contains milk from a mom whose baby was born premature. So that's why it's pink. Okay, so if a baby was born less than 37 weeks, then for the next 30 days, any milk that mom produces is considered to be preterm milk. So this can go specifically to preterm babies and really has a lot of the protein and the nutrients that a premature baby would need to continue to grow and develop. Wow. And so the milk comes in, it comes in a box, typically, or mom can drop it off. We love it when moms drop off their milk if they live close by, because sometimes they bring their babies, which is great.
Because they bring the babies with them.
Sometimes, yeah. Well, kind of like, they're kind of attached at the hip, or at the breast, we could say. So they come in, or it comes in overnight delivery, and it's still frozen when it comes to us. We unpack it. We make sure that it's all good. We weigh it, and then we put it into these bags. It will be color coded if it's a specially typed milk, and then it's put directly into our freezer. So I'm going to go put it back in our freezer because it needs to stay frozen.
Go back, get it frozen. I'll be here. So I have a lot of questions for Linda when she comes back. I want to know, and I'm sure you guys want to know too, if I was a mom, and I'm not a mom, but if I was a mom, so Linda, here's what I was talking to the crowd while you were away. So here's what we want to know, and maybe we'll do this when we come back, but I'll give you some time to think about it. So if I was a new mom, or why did I stop being a new mom? If I had a woman in my life and she was a new mom, or a friend or whatever, and she had surplus milk, right? Mm-hmm. What would do you send her? You don't have to answer this now. We'll let everybody think about it. It'll be like a game show. You all think about what it might be, and then Linda and I'll tell you the answer when we come back. But what is she sent? A kit? How does she know how to?
I'm going to tell you the whole thing.
I know you are. But let's think about it. So what does that all look like? I want to know. Everybody know. Inquiring minds want to know. We'll be right back.
Are you passionate about the conversation around racism? Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. TLC, host of the Dismantle Racism Show, which airs every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc. Join me and my amazing guests as we discuss ways to uncover, dismantle, and eradicate racism. That's Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
In a post-COVID world, you may have many unanswered questions regarding your health. Are you looking to live a healthier lifestyle? Do you have a desire to learn more about mental health and enhance your quality of life? Or do you just want to participate in self-understanding and awareness? I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each Thursday, I will tackle these questions and work to enlighten you. Tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will be frank about health to advocate for all of us.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Phocus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Thank you for joining me in my attic. All right, here's what I want you to know real quick before Linda and I get right back into it. The New York Milk Bank is a nonprofit organization that collects excess breast milk from lactating women in good health. The milk is bottled, pasteurized, and distributed to babies in need throughout New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Since opening in 2016, we have diligently screened over 5,000 generous donors. That's a big deal. I don't even know like how many people come by and visit. We're going to hear more about that. But 5,000 generous donors and distributed more than, listen for it, 1 million ounces of precious donor milk. I've heard it called liquid gold. In fact, my friend Heather Edwards called it liquid gold. You know, I think about when I say 1 million, I think about the book fairies giving away 4 million books. I think about my friend Heather Edwards giving away freaking millions of diapers and millions of wipes all by herself. One woman running an incredible organization out there. So NYMB is committed to enhancing the health and survival of infants in need by ensuring the availability and quality of pasteurized donor human milk when mother's own milk is unavailable. So I did a video early this week and I said, look, mother's milk is best. If not, then donor milk. And then maybe we get down to formula, right? And if that becomes like it's a different version, I think, at least in my experience, we had 4 children. And, you know, I feel like when you leave the hospital, they're often trying to give you samples of stuff to take. You know, I'm not going to beat up companies. I know you used to work for Kraft, and we're not here to disparage anything. This is a capitalist society we live in. I understand a bit about business. But at the same time, we need to think about scientifically and naturally what is best for our babies, specifically the babies in most need, as we've talked about. All right. So when we last spoke, which was like 30 seconds ago, when we last spoke, you took out a pink bag of frozen milk. You said it was preterm milk, meaning the moms had delivered a baby who was younger than 37 weeks, right? Like hadn't gone past 37 weeks in term. So, and then I said, well, I'd like to know if a mom has extra milk or a surplus of milk, how does she contact you? How does she find out? Like, I mean, not to be silly, but there needs to be somewhere to put the milk and freeze the milk and do that stuff, right? So tell us about that process.
Right, exactly. So, so that amount of milk that I sort of just pulled out of the freezer, if you have that amount of milk or more stashed in your freezer because you were, you know, thinking that, oh, when I return to work or if I travel, I'm going to need that milk. And then you end up, that becomes excess milk. Your baby does not need that milk. We want to hear from you. And so if you have excess milk in your freezer, please, you can give us a call, or probably easiest if you just go to our website. So nymilkbank.org, you'll see right on the first page, click the donate milk, and it will take you to a very brief survey, just an initial eligibility survey. If you submit that, we will give you a call. We'll have a more in-depth conversation. We'll send you an application. That application, it is long, I will warn you, but you can make it through. It is about your health, your lifestyle, any medications that you're on, things like vitamin use, all kinds of things related to your health, just to make sure that the milk that we are receiving is appropriate for a little baby, especially a sick baby in the NICU. You also will be required to have medical clearance from your doctor. So just, a sign off saying, yes, that my patient is in good health, and then a blood test. We do tests for certain things that can be transmitted through breast milk. And so HIV, syphilis, HTLV, and hepatitis. So those 4 things the blood test will determine, and then you will be approved as a donor. And we pay for all, any of the costs involved with the blood test. We pay for all of that. Then if you're not local to us, we will send you a box. And in the box will be a liner so that the milk, your milk is going to be frozen. It's going to be put into this box. It's going to be sealed up and sent to us overnight. We also ask you that you do sort of a, tell us what's been going on. Have you been on any medication recently? Has anything, changed with your health, so that we have all the up-to-date information. If you prefer, we also have what's called depots or collection sites throughout all of New York State. And in that way, instead of having to sort of pack up your milk, you can take it to this collection site, and it could be a yoga studio. It could be a pediatrician's office. It could be, a hospital setting, and you can drop your milk off there. They will collect that milk and then, package it all up and send it to us. So if you are a yoga studio or a pediatrician's office and you would like to be a part of this journey of breast milk from breast to belly, we also want to hear from you as well. Because having more collection sites also increases our awareness and makes it more convenient for moms who are very busy to be dropping off their milk. And so once we receive the milk.
While you're speaking, I'm going to share the website. So you keep going.
Great. Okay. So once.
You'll see the website. Go ahead, Linda. I'm sorry.
Yep. So once we receive the milk, we check it in, we weigh it, we put it into bags. Oh, there I am in my hairnet.
Oh my God. Do I get one of those hairnets when I come for my?
Oh, yes, you do.
Oh, yeah, look at his hair. I'm going to need 2 hairnets.
If you want to go into the freezer, you got to put on a heavy duty jacket as well.
Tell me.
So there I am actually dispensing the milk that has come in through the front door and has been through our process. So once the milk enters our freezers, we have production schedules. When it's ready to be bottled, we take it out. It's thawed in our refrigerators. It's strained. It will be typically mixed with 3 or 4 other donors of milk to sort of even out the nutritional profile of the milk.
So it's like kind of like a milk cocktail.
It's like a milk cocktail. Exactly. And then it will be bottled, sealed, pasteurized to kill any bacteria or inactivate any viruses. The milk then enters our refrigerators to be chilled. And we send out 1 bottle from each batch, has to go out to an external lab to be tested for any, bacteria that might be growing. Okay. Once that is cleared, then it can enter our inventory. It goes into our walk-in freezer. And then when hospitals place an order, or families place an order, it is dispensed.
I mean, wow. It's, what? I mean, I could see how fun this is going to be when I come out for tour, because I'm going for tour. So if you live near Valhalla and you're interested in nonprofit organizations and you're interested in your boy, Tommy D, maybe I don't know how many people are going to show up, but we should talk about it, but don't just show up.
Okay.
Don't just reach out to me, Tommy D. Send me a note on Instagram if you want, tommyd.nyc, or send me an email, tommyd@philanthropy.com, and we can connect, because I'm looking to go around the country and do some stuff and sort of try out some new ideas of connecting with organizations in person, and I think I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that. But what I'm just seeing the whole step by step that you ran us through, again, in this setting, that's what best we could do. But like, if we're on site and you can show me, here's where this happens, and here's where that happens, and here's where this happens, that's just so exciting to me, because it's the stories, man. It's the stories that sell. And,
exactly. Yeah.
I have a marketing background. And let's be honest, Listen, I got newsflash. Nonprofits are businesses, folks. Okay. And yes, development people and leadership. We're some salespeople at times. Okay. Because we're selling the mission. We might not be selling you a product, but we're selling you the impact and the results of what it is that we do and what happens because of what we do. Right, Linda?
Oh, absolutely. And yes, in our case, we would love to show off. We love showing off our milk bank now that COVID, I know it's still here, but it's waning. We have been giving tours, and so we'd be happy to do that and happy to put you to work with a hairnet and a beard net. And
I don't know what else to wear. I got a lot of hair on my head and my face here, so I'll wear them also. In fact, I was at I think it was at Hershey Park, and they have like one of these things where you go there and you make like a chocolate bar. And they made me have like a beard net too. Like I've had to wear. Where else I had to wear a beard net? We did something with I don't know the name of the organization, but it was the Rotary locally here, and they were packaging food. I don't know if you've ever done this, but if folks, if you're looking for a team building thing, it's like an assembly line, right, Linda? So we got like a big old box of rice. And then we got like this nutritional pack you pour in, right? And then it was like beans. You had a couple scoops of beans. And it's so fun. And I had at least two of my kids, my wife and I were there, at least two of my kids, my friend Bert Lurch, it was connected to the Health and Business Alliance and the Rotary up in out in Nassau County, one of the Rotary clubs. And it was just like so fun. And like, that's the thing. But I had to wear a beard net. Twice in my life, I've had to wear a beard net. I never had to wear a beard net.
Well, this will be the third. And I will put in a plug for Feeding Westchester, which also takes in volunteers and has them packing food and doing lots of other things.
Do they do that thing, Feeding West?
Absolutely. Yep. And they're really kind of like right down the block. So
I'd love to connect with them. Feeding Westchester, love to come out and visit you when I'm up that way. Actually, was texting my friend. My friend Darcy lives up that way. She's involved with this company called One Hope, which is a wine company, and they give back 10% of profits to nonprofits. So we should. Darcy's going to come on the other show at some point. But we, the other show I do, sort of the In Focus nonprofit show, where I bring on people that service and work with the nonprofit sector. But she lives up not too far from you. So I was just saying, I was up there with her. We went to Volunteer New York, had a big event a couple months back. I think you and I might have talked about it. Yeah. And that was a really special event. And so again, I am down here on Long Island, but happy to collaborate all around New York. Especially, in where you are, it's like the 6th or 7th borough. You know what I'm saying? Everything after that is sort of like Canada to me. So shout out to, upstate New York.
Sullivan County.
I'm just kidding. It's just a Long Island joke. Relax, everybody. Shout out to my friend Robert Rosner. I know you're listening, who's originally from Troy, New York, and is now in Dunwoody, Georgia. So I never get to say hello to you. So hello, Robert. All right. So we are almost onto our another break, which is crazy to think because this is how quick the show goes. But Linda, I want to ask you a question, and I'm not going to text you later on. I'm just going to ask you right now. Remember when you thought we would not have enough to talk about?
I know.
Remember last Friday morning when you're like,
how can I fill an hour?
I said, we'll do just fine. We have one thing we'll hit on when we come back. Here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about when we come back a little bit about where we ultimately get to in this part of the show is what do you need? How can we help? Who can we connect you with? Obviously. But I do want to just send out a little teaser again. There's something about bikers. There's something about milk, and I will leave it there. And we'll talk about that when we come back. Right back.
What really drives success in business? Introducing Intangify, the show that explores the intangible assets that create value and growth. I'm Matthew Asbell, your host and an attorney focused on innovation. Join me Fridays at noon Eastern to discover how innovation, culture, and other intangibles shape thriving companies from startups to established businesses. We'll share strategies to unleash your business's true potential. Tune in live on talkradio.nyc Fridays at noon Eastern and Intangify your business today.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy and Phocus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Cut through the static, join me in the attic. I talk a lot about volunteerism. I talk a lot about getting involved in your community. I talk a lot about supporting your local nonprofits. I also say life begins at the end of your comfort zone. I've been known to say that, so get uncomfortable. So I have been considering this all week, and I don't know if it's actually going to work out or not, but there's something called the Milk Riders. The Sirens Women's Motorcycle Club of New York City are founding members of Milk Riders. Now, because I'm a crazy person, I was like, oh man, I'm going to go up there and I want to volunteer, and Linda's going to show me around, and apparently I got to wear a beard covering now and all this cool stuff. And I'm like, yo, it would be hysterical, like I've been telling people. So there's these bikers, and they bring the milk around, and they're like delivery service. And I was like, how cool would it be if I'm on the back of a bike, holding, I've never been on a motorcycle in my life in 45 years. And I'm like, I might have to do this just for the show, just for the showmanship of the whole thing, on the back of the bike, hold it on to somebody. Although I see some of these as I look at the website, which maybe I'll share pictures of the website, I see some sidecars. I think I'd be perfect to be in the sidecar, because then I don't have to worry. I wouldn't be so anxious and nervous. So maybe we do a milk run, a milk run. That's back when I was a sales guy for ADP, when you take a manager out on the road, Linda, they would say, you take them on a milk run. And that was you take them to your key accounts and people who like you in the community. So you just look like a champion. So he goes, oh, what are you taking me on a milk run, Tommy D? But and that was what I was thinking. Anyway, I'm rambling, but I remember going to Dairy Barn and getting glass bottles of milk. So people used to deliver milk many years ago. Tell me about the Milk Riders, and then we'll talk more about what the organization needs too.
Okay, great. Well, the Sirens are an amazing organization. They, do a lot of community events. They give of their time. And one of the things that, they started doing for us was these Milk Riders. So when maybe a hospital is in need, it's an emergency delivery, they ran out of milk by chance, and this baby is going to start feeding and really needs to have human milk, and we just can't get it there with our courier service or with FedEx. It would just take too long. Then we call upon the Sirens, and they will put out a call for someone to come to the milk bank and take this milk to where it needs to go. It can also happen with families who are receiving donor milk and can't afford the shipping. And so we will call upon the Milk Riders as well for that. And then there are cases, we're talking about upstate New York, that maybe someone who's actually donating their milk is in an area that a FedEx is not close to them. And so a Milk Rider has gone for us to get that milk and to take it to a depot for us so that raw milk can get to us. So here you have pictures of the Milk Riders. They don't always come in with their motorcycles. They do have cars, and they do deliver with their cars as well. So we're very thankful
That is so
for that. And also just also a shout out that they also have raised money for us because not only do we need milk donations, but we also need financial donations.
Yes.
And so they have raised money for us, and we purchased a freezer that we use every day. And that was actually in memory of one of the Sirens who unfortunately passed away during COVID. And so her mom, Judy Wetzler, and the Sirens raised those funds for us. So they've given us more than just their ability to transport the milk.
Of course. How did that? So we talk a lot about strategic alliances and strategic relationships. How did that one start? What was do you remember?
You know what? I do not know the answer to that. I was thinking to myself, how did that originally start?
Shout out to the original 5 women who founded this organization.
Exactly.
The story how you got the Sirens. Shout out to the Sirens. Look, Sirens, we should maybe do a thing. Maybe I should drive in the sidecar and would deliver some milk. I don't know. If you're down for it, I don't have a choice. I just said I would do it on a live show. So, but I think that would be fun. I want to just shout them out because, it's all about getting involved in your community, and it's whatever you can do, whatever your ability might be. They got these bikes. They can be in and out of places quick, right? And yes, of course, they have cars as well, like you said, but it's just a passion for what they're doing. And condolences on the loss of one of your riders for sure. And what a great legacy and memory to utilize that tragedy to go out and raise dough to buy a freezer, which now serves all these babies. And that lives on in the memories and lives on as a legacy. So before I start crying, which we talked about, your husband is going to come on the show.
Oh, you'll definitely be crying with him.
He said he's going to, I don't, it's seeing what he does. I'm going to be crying laughing, but I think he's going to, it sounds like he's a big mush like me. So it'll be, I've got your new show. It's going to be two guys crying. Welcome to the show. Let's talk about what you need, any events coming up, any fundraisers, anything we should know about.
Absolutely. So, just most practically, we do need milk. And so we always are in need of donated milk. So just shout out to any, healthy lactating women who have excess milk beyond what their own babies need. Please reach out to us via the website, fill out the very short questionnaire, and we will be giving you a call. So that's always a need. And so shout out to that. We also, need financial donations because we're always trying to innovate. We're always trying to enhance whether it's production capabilities, our systems, and that costs money. So financial donations, and we have, wonderful foundations and folks that have given to us year after year. And so we truly appreciate those generous donors, and more is always needed. In terms of events, we sort of have one that's just in its very infancy, not I'm going to say pun intended.
I told you you were witty. I said it to you earlier today. You are witty. I like that. So what is?
Okay, so we have there are the moms who healthy lactating moms who are donating, and over a long period of time, but we also receive calls from bereaved moms. So these are moms who have yes, we're going to be crying, have lost their babies, and they feel that there is a meaning to them and a worth to them, to us, to be able to donate the milk that they have maybe already pumped, or they want to pump a little bit to have, to give some meaning to their tremendous loss. And so we have what we call a butterfly tree. And so we have paper cut out butterflies that we put the baby's name on and their date of birth, and it sits up there as a remembrance and really to honor these babies and their moms who have given milk to us. And we would like to, instead of having paper cutouts, we want to have something a little bit more, long lasting. And so we are creating ceramic butterflies. And I always say, and when I work for an organization, all Harelicks work for an organization. And my brother-in-law, who is I'm not sure if it's called, I have to ask him this, a potter or a ceramicist. This is what he does as his business.
Like he does like this.
Yeah. It's gorgeous. Dan Harelick, look him up on Instagram. He does amazing, beautiful things. And he has a real passion for this work, and he has a studio and he teaches children and adults. And so next on Tuesday, my staff and we were going to go, and he is going to let us cut out some of the butterflies and then he will paint them and fire them. And then I would love to have an event where we reveal our new butterfly tree and invite moms, donors, bereaved moms, donors, our funders to celebrate and to honor this. So that's something that we would like to do.
I want to, if this is the right Dan Harelick Studio Art, you think that's it?
Correct. Yep. That's it.
We're going to give you some pub right here. I'm going to actually just share my screen. Go to the Instagram, go to the IG. While you're there, check out TommyD.NYC. While you're there, check out my guy Cheeto, my dog. But check out Dan Harelick Studio Art. I'm going to follow him right now. I think he's telling me, it's just, sorry, you're following the max number of accounts. So I got to kick a couple other accounts that I'm following out.
Wow. Well, he's worth following because it's gorgeous stuff.
ADHD is what I'm trying to tell you. I told you that earlier. This is what happens. Oh, I like that account. Oh, I like that account. Let's follow it out. Let's see what they're doing. But you got it. So I see him down here working.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
This is awesome. Oh, look at, I see this shirt that says Simon said.
Oh,
I don't know what that's about, Linda.
it's all in the family. It's all in the family.
Else out while we're here? Anybody else you want to shout out?
No.
Says guy.
Well, I was going to tell you, my son is a musician, and he can give you maybe an alternate to your intro music.
I would love to talk to him. What's his name?
Jacob Harelick.
Hey, Jacob Harelick, check it out, man. Listen, I would love to look up a band called Revolution. Think about that song "Sun Is Shining" by Bob Marley. And then think of the lyrics of "Join Tommy in his attic." See if you come. There should be a whole thing. I should get all the young musicians to try and send me something about like redoing the song and different things. And you know what it is? I want to do like 12 different shows anyway. So we need a theme song for all the shows. All right, we are out of time because that's what happens on the show. You know what? I told you so, Linda. I told you.
You did.
Just about 1 week ago, 10 minutes shy of our conversation 1 week ago, I said, trust me, we're going to be all right. We're going to run out of time. All right. The website for the organization, I lost it because I've been looking at so many other different things. So it is nymilkbank.org.org, NY Milk Bank. We need milk. We need money. We need relationships. We need connections. Anything else that we need?
I think that covers it.
That's it. Well, listen, you can connect with my friend Linda. Linda, I'm coming up for a tour. Linda, one last thing I was going to ask you. How big is the organization? You must have hundreds of employees, right?
Oh, yes. All 11 of them. Yes. And they are amazing. I have the most amazing staff.
11
hardworking, dedicated staff.
Thank you. 11 employees changing the world and saving lives. Okay, gang. The joke was I knew she didn't have hundreds of employees. I didn't even need to ask. These are my people. These are who I hang out with. Come on now. A lot of hats. You know, I love to wear hats, but that's not what this is about now. But people wear a lot of hats in this space, and we must support our nonprofits. Go out, volunteer. If you want me to come volunteer, will you let me know where you're going to be? I'll come out. We'll do a little volunteering. We'll record the thing, and 9 or 10 people will watch it. Listen, Linda, I appreciate you. Shout out to Heather Edwards. Shout out to Dr. Lena Edelstein, Dr. Laura Macaluso. When I was showing some stuff, I saw Dr. Macaluso's office is one of the depots
exactly. It's amazing, like the connections that are made.
So connected. It is so connected. I can't wait to meet you in person. Even if I have to get my winter coat out in September.
No, we'll supply the winter coat.
Oh, even have the coats for me. Oh my God. All right. I'm large is fine. Large size. And I'll have a Hawaiian shirt on underneath it if that's cool.
That's totally cool.
All right. We will be back in a week. Your boy Tommy D, the Nonprofit Sector Connector. Make it a great day, everybody. See you later. Bye, Linda.
Thank you.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.